Hey y'all, the never ever ever have I met you in real life. That show was getting good, y'all. Anyway, welcome back to the Brandon Yvonne channel. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandon Yvonne. Here on my channel, we do fun reviews, recaps, and discussions of all of our favorite shows, y'all. Of course, I'm your girl, Brandon Yvonne. Please do not forget to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. Share the video where you like to share your content. You can tag me on Twitter at Brandon Yvonne on Twitter. Also, comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this episode, y'all. I know I ain't talked to y'all in a minute about this show. I did not review episode 2 because last Friday, as a lot of y'all know, was my birthday. And I was out doing birthday activities for the weekend, and I just didn't feel like episode 2 didn't give much for me. I'll do a quick recap before we get into episode 3, but I just didn't have the energy or the time to catch up. With, I was out of town for my birthday, all of the things. And I just wasn't motivated to get on YouTube for some reason as well. So I'm just trying to get myself back remotivated for YouTube. I'm not giving up or anything on it. I just have other things going on that are kind of taking more priority than YouTube, for lack of better words to say it. But I'm still here with y'all. I'm gonna keep doing these videos. So we're gonna do this video. Also, Love and Marriage Huntsville came back tonight. It's like a gift and a curse all at the same time. I'm looking forward to the new season, but y'all know how I get with all the comments, Love and Marriage Huntsville, and on Twitter and stuff. So we gonna see. Hopefully I don't have to quit them because I like that show. But anyway, let's get into this show. Also, please do not hesitate to hit that subscribe button, y'all. I'm literally 2 subs away from 500, and I feel like that it's just been lingering on to get to 500. So if y'all can support your girl over here and get me to that number, I would appreciate it. Also, please excuse me because these allergies are allergying. They're doing the most over here. Okay, I don't know about where y'all live, but the allergies are doing the most over here in California. So I still have a bit of congestion, but bear with me. Anyway, okay, so real quick, let's talk about episode 2. I don't want to leave y'all hanging. Y'all's my people still. So basically, episode 2, we see what was the boy's name? Is it Dominique? The one that, had the situation with Alexis. And finally the producers had stepped in with them. He did a little video saying sorry, but it wasn't really giving anything. Um One of them, what is his name? Aaron A tried to, console Alexis, told her about his own domestic abuse. Long story short, Toronda said both of y'all got to go out the house. So Alexis and Dominique both got kicked out the house. They did a little Kama Sutra thing. Aaron and G and Jody have nothing going on, as well as Brandon and Sienna have nothing going on. And Brandon called the position with Sienna boring. Sienna was popping off on him when they were playing pool. She being a flip flopper. She called him out his name, called him the B word. They got into it. And that was pretty much it with episode 2. Now, Sienna is very much giving unhinged, okay? And we're going to get into it more with episode 3. So let's check up episode 3 because episode 3 gave way more for me than episode 2 did, right? So episode 3 picks up with Josh and Shay, having a little lovey-dovey moment. And then Chris and Sandia. Oh, Chris also talked to Sandia and tried to BS his way in episode 2 out of what he said in episode 1. But I wasn't buying it, but Sandia did, so whatever. So he talking about he can't really, get into his weight loss in the house. I don't know why. Maybe they ain't had the food he need, or maybe he not cooking. I don't know. She told him to do some jump squats and some high knees and all that good stuff. Speaking of, I still ain't did my workout for today, y'all. Okay, let me tell you. Let me back up real quick. Reason why y'all didn't get this on a Friday night, and I feel like I ain't got to do a Friday night video in a minute. I've been in the streets more than I knew I was gonna be lately. I was at the so y'all know I have a visual impairment, so I was at the Blind Center last night, and they had a tacos and tequila event, y'all. I stayed there way too long and had way too much tequila. Okay, so I was dragging today. Okay, I had to order me some IHOP ASAP this morning. But anyway, that's why y'all getting this video on Saturday. So anywho, but Chris, go on, just do your workout and make you some veggies and some fruits in the house, and you be good. Okay. Anywho, they got all that house you could work out. They got a pool. There is no excuse. Anyway, um, so um the next part of the episode, I believe, is when we see um Brandon and Sienna were cooking. I feel like I'm missing something. But anyway, Brandon and Sienna were cooking. And I wonder, is Brandon a chef? I can't remember if they told us what everybody does or not. But I was curious to know if Brandon was a chef or not, because he was preparing the food and talking about truffle butter and how it was made and all the stuff. Then later on we saw him making drinks, and so he spoke like he works in a kitchen or he's a cook or in some kind of food industry. So I would be curious to know if that's what he does for a living. If y'all know what he does for a living, please let me know in the comments. My bad, y'all. I had to pause the video real quick. And let me backtrack because I was about to miss a whole big old scene. So before we got to the dinner that Brandon made, we do see Aaron, the Aaron H and his girl, Dymond. They get together with Brandon and Sienna and to talk to them, basically like he wants to, because Aaron feels like he's the elder in the house, so he wants to have a talk with them and try to help them with their relationship, right? So he takes them outside and kind of do like a couples counseling thing. But I was like, Aaron, I appreciate what he trying to do. He is trying to like be the leader of the house, I guess. So then, Sienna like to pop off all out of turn. And because Brandon is like, I feel like we have communication issues. Listen, she's like, first of all, we don't have communication issues. So then he was like, what is this? I think it was his guitar pick or something. He's like, okay, whoever got this in their hand is the only one that could talk. And so Sienna feels like basically that Brandon laughed at her when they were shooting pool and stuff. And so Brandon was saying he do have a nervous laugh, and Dymond was asking about that. He was like, he don't know the name for it, but he will laugh at certain situations. And he was like, well, I wasn't laughing at you. I would not do that. And so Sienna is like going off and off, and then on and on. And what's her name? Dymond was like, wait, girl, you don't even have a thing in your hands. He was like, oh, my bad. Because he was like, we don't have communication issues. You was laughing at me. You was doing all this. Now, mind you, Sienna had called him a B word last week. So it's like, girl, you did wrong. Loud and wrong. Shout out to Winter. Anyway, so Aaron was trying to get them to talk through their issues. Basically, Sienna also didn't like the fact that somebody else in the house was trying to counsel them, because she was like, I don't like this third party counsel. Like, I don't know what you trying to do. Or y'all trying to, what they could be trying to pull me away from you and do something. I'm like, girl, relax. Even Dymond was frustrated with her in the confessional. Was like, girl, you want a man, like, let him be the man, let him lead. Like, girl, she thought I was sick of her. So anyway, Dymond asked them today and apologizing to each other. And so I guess they did, or they did in the moment, whatever. So she did apologize for calling him out of his name. He apologized about the laughing thing. And Sienna says, it's potential there. And the more time she spends with him in person, the more she does get to know about him, like the laughter thing she didn't know about him. She said, like, everything online was good. They have good chemistry, but in person it's hard to translate it, right? And that does happen with people sometimes when you go from online to in person. It don't, give what needs to be given sometimes, right? It's not the same. Because I feel like online, you kind of were living in like a fantasy of the relationship versus when you really in the relationship is different, right? So anyway, so then Sienna and Brandon kind of talked it out. And so Dymond was like, do y'all even like each other? And she's like, yeah, I will spend time with him. Like, if he wanted to go hang out somewhere, I would go with him. She said, I know you have the nervous laughter thing. And she said, for me, I'm very dramatic. Like, anything that happens is like the sky's falling for me, and that's how I am. And you could basically take it or leave it how I am. And all this stuff tomorrow. She got a rough exterior. Now, y'all know how I feel about people who say you could take me or leave me for who I am, and I'm alive and I'm rough. But if you could just get past that, we're not getting past stuff with you. No. No, we're not gonna just settle for you being off the hook and deal with it. No, we not. We not. Nobody should have to put up with you or deal with you. Okay. Y'all know how I feel about that. So anyway, they ended up talking alone and saying maybe they could, get some private time, but Shay and Josh got the boom boom room on lock, so that might be kind of difficult, right? But Sienna said she's been having a good time with Brandon. Brandon said, you know, her smile lights up the room. He enjoys his time with her. So he feels like there's still hope and potential there to work it out. They both feel like it's going to work out, but we will see that it will not. Anyway, across the yard or outside, still we see Josh and Shay talking with Millie and Greg, and they're like, oh, they were having like little couples counseling or whatever. And so they were like, well, they seem to be doing good now, so it should be good. And so they were basically talking about what they observed going on with Brandon and Sienna. Millie had a book in her drink, but she took it out and kept on drinking it. Okay. Anyway, um, so then at some point, you know, everybody went inside. And then we see Aaron H talking to Greg later on. Now, this scene was edited weirdly because I noticed some of their outfits were the same. Like Millie had that dress on and Brandon had that shirt on. Then I think they were wearing something else when they were cooking, but then looked like that same outfit was on when the friends came. So I was like kind of confused. Did anybody else notice that? I was like, wait a minute, did they change clothes? Like what happened? So then Greg was outside talking with Aaron H, and then he was like, what do you think about, you know, the couples here? He's asking what he thought about Jody and Aaron, the other Aaron, because he was like, they don't ever spend time together. They just doing their own separate thing. They don't look like, you know, they go together, and they don't. They don't. Yeah, I know. Nobody sees it from like Jody. Every time you see them together, you don't even see them together. You see one doing one thing, one doing another thing. And then when they sitting next to each other, when later on they were sitting next to each other in the kitchen, Aaron like he was about to fall asleep. He like he didn't even want to be there. I don't understand their relationship. I think they both are friends that came on for TVs. What I think happened. But anyway, I'm not buying it with Aaron and Jody. No, ma'am. So Greg's like, yeah, I don't see a spark. Like they're not even trying. Nobody sees it for them. So Aaron doesn't like the fact that he don't see nothing going on with them. Aaron is like, I guess he gonna do Toronda's job when she gone. I guess. So anyway, Josh came out the room, and then they was asking Josh, you know, how he going with Shay and the boom boom room and all that. And so Greg's like, I ain't gonna get a chance. I hope I can get in the boom boom room, but he not sure. He's like, I think you and Millie got potential to do it. Like maybe you just put your foot down. Then the B came, they ran in the house. So then is when we see Brandon and Sienna make a dinner. So Brandon made some kind of steaks, like I said, and potato salad. It looked really good. He plated it. It was all fancy. Did the whole thing. Josh was like, "I'm not bougie, so let me know which was the salad for." I was like, "Oh, Josh." Nah, I don't always know that answer either. And people say I'm bougie, but whatever. I just know what goes on what side of the plate. That's all I know. Anyway, so then Dymond said they're gonna play games. So her Aaron decided to play this like vote on like who's the best couple, who's the most romantic couple, who need to go to counseling, who argue the most, and all that. So they did all these questions, and on the screen they show which ones got the most votes. I don't remember every single question like that. I do remember they said what couple like has the most drama was Brandon and Sienna. Brandon and Sienna got a lot of them. Okay. Which couple needs counseling? Brandon and Sienna, but then Aaron H had chose Jody and Aaron, and so the other Aaron, and so he was like, don't take this the wrong way, but I don't see you guys really interacting. I don't see you guys being up under each other like that. Like we all haven't seen our significant others in months and years for some of us, and you guys don't spend any time together. Like, you know, it seems like there's a disconnect. And so Jody's like, I disagree with that. Like me and him have built a relationship online. And every time I walk through the house, I see this one on all over this one and this one all over that one. And just because we're not like that doesn't mean we don't have a connection. Like she doesn't want it to be forced and she's taking it slow. I don't buy it, Jody. Don't buy it, girl. Anyway, then they said, which couple is the most in need of the boom boom room? They feel like Greg and Billy, like they had that. Chris feels like, you know, like that's gonna be the next step for them because the way Greg was comfortable with Millie in the Kama Sutra. They also said which couple is the most romantic. So a lot of people said Josh and Shay. I think some people said Aaron and Dymond, and then Jody was like, "Oh, I picked Chris and Sandia. To me, they are so romantic." They are so romantic. So I'm like, girl, what? And so then she fixes her mouth to say, oh yeah, Chrissy, I know you're just such a hopeless romantic, and I just really rooting for y'all. And Sandia looking there, sitting there like, girl, what? And everybody else is looking like, what? And so he was like, yeah, that's why you F with me, da da da. So she just really like, I'm rooting for Sandia and Chris and all this stuff. Like, girl, what about you and your man? What about that? I'm like, girl, bye. So anyway, um, then after they got all that, Chris gonna ask Sandia, are you okay? Because she was a little irritated. And either Dymond or Aaron in their confessional was like, yes, it's funny how like anything Chris says or does, Jody is like right there. It looks like Jody likes Chris, is what it looks like. And that's what it's giving. Okay. And they're gonna get into that more next episode, which I want to see. So anyway, towards the end of the game, a lot of those things was like, which couple argues the most, Brandon and Sienna, which couple, does this the most, Brandon and Sienna. And they was like, dang, why y'all coming down on us? We went on the night we made dinner. Like, dang. Like, it felt like let's highlight Brandon and Sienna's troubles. It was kind of biased, and they gave a little smoke to Aaron and Jody as well. But I was like, dang, Brandon and Sienna are getting it. I mean, that's what they're giving them. Anyway, then Toronda came and let them know that they would be inviting their family and friends to the house to meet their significant other. Like, they want to bring, bridge the gap between the online dating and real life. So that is the next step. And so I thought like everyone's friends and family was coming to the house at one time, like family or fiance, because we in the family and fiance house, as we can see. However, they're doing it like one episode at a time, which I actually ended up liking it. So she let Brandon and Sienna know, like, this is your time to shine. So only their two friends are coming to the house. So then I don't know if it was that night or the next night or when it was. At some point, we do see Dymond and Aaron H in the hot tub together. Now Aaron H got these black nails, his nail polish on, and I'm confused, but I'm gonna let him do what he want to do. And so she's like, how much do you love me? And they're all making out now that. And then later on we see her speak on a FaceTime with her daughter. I wonder how old is her daughter. I was like, dang, she don't actually have a daughter that, old, but she tells her daughter everything. And she's telling her daughter how he cried when she walked up at the restaurant, and how they've been talking online 5 years, and how everything is going good for her at the house. All right. That was somewhere in the middle of the episode. Y'all know I skip around. Oh, at some point also we did see Josh and Shay outside speaking with Dymond and Aaron H. And so they were asking them about marriage, like how soon do they want to get married and all that. And so Josh said definitely, next step would be marriage, maybe in a couple of years or something like that. So Dymond was like, okay, I want to ask you about is because Shay told me you had a baby on her. And I was like, oh, not Dymond bringing it up. The producers got Dymond and Aaron H doing the work of this show. So anyway, so then Josh says he like down there mumbles something about, oh, I had a situation with my roommate and some BS happened. And next thing you know, 9 months later, a baby came, but it's all good. And so Shay was like, yeah, I respect the fact that he told me when it happened right away instead of waiting till the baby came 9 months later and all that. And she's like, and it's been 3 years. And they both like, we're past it now. We're good. And they kiss and they're like, oh yeah, he gonna make a good dad and all that. And Dymond let it go. But I was like, wait a minute. First of all, Josh, Josh literally brushed past that story, first of all. I was like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Like, I'm gonna need more details than that. No, that was not good enough. And 3 years, okay, yeah, y'all can be over it or whatever, but no, he was like, he didn't intend for it to happen. But like, what happened? Because if you're supposed to be talking to Shay, like, what was going on that you can get pregnant with somebody else? Yeah. Anyway, get somebody else pregnant. I mean, anywho, it just was not a good enough explanation for me. But I mean, I know Shay and Josh have dealt with it on their own. Josh looked kind of irritated that homegirl even brought it up. So anyway, moving along. So then I don't know if it was like the next day, because like I said, they edited this episode so weirdly. But we do see Brandon's friend Matt come to the house, as well as Sienna's friend Gigi. Now, some of the people were in the kitchen playing like a charades game, and they had to be some kind of celebrity or actor. And Crystal Sandia, she could be a Haitian one because nobody was gonna know what it was. She was supposed to be Kevin Hart. It was a very interesting Kevin Hart. But anyway, so Brandon's friend Matt came, and so Brandon and Matt, he introduced him to Sienna, and then they went outside to talk, and he's telling him that, we already been arguing in the house. She called me the B word. We have all this stuff going on, and he was like, yeah, she be going to 0 to 100 real quick, and he was like, I know you're not like that, and he was like, exactly, like, you're not gonna get my energy. And so Matt basically asked him, does he think, there's a chance it could work out? And so Brandon said, like, yeah, he's, trying to give it a chance and see what happens. All right. So then Sienna's friend Gigi came. Sienna said her and Gigi both live alone, and when New York City shut down, they were really there for each other. And so Gigi is her girl. She's happy to have Gigi there to help her figure things out. So she's telling Gigi about how they've been arguing and things haven't, translated in person like she thought it would from online. And she's like, yeah, he talked to another girl in the house about us and me and told her something. I don't know what he told her. And then she told about the Kama Sutra thing and how he said she was boring. And so then Gigi's like, oh, I don't like him. I don't like him. Now, my thing with Sienna is when they were getting into it last week, they both were talking to everybody in the house. And we saw her speak to Greg. And we saw Brandon speak. Is it Brandon or Brandon? I don't know. Anyway, we saw him speak to Millie. So I'm like, what's the difference? Like, I don't understand seeing this big old deal about it. So Gigi was like, this is your time to do your work. You need to figure out, like, this is real or not. You need to just this is the time where you need to collect information and figure out what you want to do and where you want to be and all that. So Gigi gave her good advice, and Sienna appreciated that. Now, the family and friends, they not staying overnight. Okay. So they literally come during the day and then they left. Okay. That was all we were given with those scenes. Okay. That was all we were given. So anyway, then later on that night, I guess it was the same night, we do see Brandon in the kitchen making drinks for everyone. And so, like, he was talking about putting certain garnishes and all that. He has India in there doing the shaker. Y'all know how they do the shaker. They be with the shaker. It reminded me on Ready to Love, the DC season. Was it Phil? What's his name? Phil or Greg that was doing that shaker on one of them dates. That's what it reminded me of. Oh, I don't know if my video paused or what happened, y'all. Anyway, I think it was an internet issue. The Wi-Fi looked fine over here. Anyway, we are having like rainstorms here, y'all. So if video messes up, that will be the reason why. So like I was saying, Chris is giving a cheers to Brandon. He's like, yeah, Brandon is a man. Like, I get along with most of the people in the house. And Brandon, you were awesome. You're on point. Cheers. So everybody did cheers to Brandon. And so then, somehow they start talking about who gets along with who in the house. And Chris said he get along with, first, like, Jody's like really cheesing that when Chris is talking. Then somehow Chris saying, he's talking to Jody, saying like, me and you really vibe in the house and we really click. And Jody's like, oh my gosh, yes. And that's what I feel like the whole human experience is about, like accepting each other's differences and blah, blah, blah. And they just really like are vibing. Meanwhile, Aaron G is sitting there like this. Like, I was like, sir, get in the game. And Sandy over there in the corner looking like she did the first episode when Chris is talking reckless in the kitchen. That's how she's sitting there looking this time. She was looking very much bothered all over again. I was like, oh, I see where this is about to go. So everybody is feeling like Jody likes Chris more than she likes Aaron. And even Millie mentioned it at the dinner table. I forgot to mention, Millie was like, you could tell that Jody really likes Chris. Like anything he does, she's so excited. Like she doesn't say anything positive about Aaron. And she's like, I felt like they were having sex right there at the table in front of me. Now I wasn't giving all that, but I get what she meant. Now I felt like in that little kitchen scene, it was really when they was giving each other away a lot of it was giving each other a lot of energy. They was giving each other a lot of energy, right? So then I don't know what this string thing keep doing. Anyway, um um I guess Jody had like another drink, but she didn't want to drink the whole drink or something. So she offered Aaron, like, did you want some of this? Because I only want to drink half. And so then he's like, oh, yeah, I'll take a sip of yours. And so then she got mad. She's like, no, you're not taking a sip of mine. You can either have some of this one or that or not. And something like that, she said. And he was like, oh, I thought you were offering, you sound like you were offering it to me. And so then she was like, oh, you're such a freaking 6-year-old. And she's just so mad at him. And I was like, girl, you offered him some of the drink. Like, what? Like, and she just got so mad and irritated with him. And then he's all trying to explain himself. And he's like, oh, well, I thought you were saying like an invitation for me to have some. And I was like, what is going on? And then she was like, oh, like, whatever. And I was like, girl, you either sharing the drink with him or not. Like, it didn't have to be all that. I was like, oh, Jody don't like that man. Jody don't like that man. Now, I think he kind of does give to me like, I saw somewhere people were saying like, you know, he not living like basically he might like the other team, whatever. But I don't know. I'm not putting that on nobody. I don't know that man's life, but he definitely look like he don't want to be there in that house with Jody. That's what he looked like. Anyway, so meanwhile in the boom boom room, it's actually a boom boom house. I think it said on the screen. So I wonder, does it just have one bedroom or is there multiple bedrooms? And who's changing the sheets in there, right? Because Shay and Josh been wearing it out. So we see that Dymond and Aaron H are going down over there. They're taking their luggage and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay. When you go over there, you really go over there, right? And it's a little walk. So I was like, oh, okay. It's not what I thought it was going to be like. So they get in there. He's giving her a foot massage. Now Dymond shared with us that she likes to have a little fun. She likes to please others. She likes to be pleased. However, she made a vow to God that she would not have sex until marriage, so she won't be doing none of that. But they're gonna still have some, you know, intimacy and some good time. So he's rubbing her feet in the boom boom room, and she's laying back on the bed. And so he's asking her, "What do you think about the game we played?" And then they bring up the whole Aaron and Jody thing, and so he's like, I don't understand them, like they don't really have a connection. And so Dymond is like, I think that Jody likes Chris more than Aaron. And so Aaron H agrees with her. And I'm like, why are y'all so worried about them? Like, but I don't know, maybe they're supposed to be like the leaders of the show. I don't know. Anyway, but it do look like that though. I agree. So then we get this scene where Aaron is sucking the mess out of Dymond's toes. It was reminding me of this last season, Ready to Love, because you know everybody down there was obsessed with toe sucking. So I said, oh, we getting the real toe sucking over here, but they could have kept that scene. I did not need to see that lady lay in bed and get her toes sucked. I did not need to see it. No, ma'am. So anyway, later on, we see Brandon is making tea for everybody, right? And so he's trying to turn the stove on. And so Sienna and Shay are in the room. And so Sienna's asking Shay about Josh's kids and if she wants to have a big wedding, small wedding, all that. She wants like a medium-sized wedding, she said, because her immediate family is small, and so is Josh's. She says just her and her sister. So basically everybody in the house that they're friends with now would be part of the wedding. And so she's like, okay, girl, but what's going on with you and Brandon? And so Sienna brings up, because Shay didn't like when Brandon said he was bored, and she was like, well, you didn't even get into it. And so then Sienna's like, yeah, right. Like, I feel like he, like, at first I let the boring thing go, but then I kept thinking about it, and I feel like he trying to make a dig at me. Like, I feel like he's trying to say that I was boring. Now, I take it as he was saying that she was boring. He said he meant it as the position was boring, but don't no woman want to hear in any sexual act the word boring from her man. Like, that's not okay and not a turn on, right? So either way, it didn't sound good, sir. So Shay is like talking to Sienna, and she low-key pumping her up because Sienna's like, yeah, then he talked to somebody else in the house about our relationship. So then Shay was like, well, girl, who was it? And then she was like, oh, it was Millie, which is fine. He wanted to have a conversation with her, but then he wouldn't even tell me what was said. And so then Shay was like, well, girl, like what? And so then she was like folding up towels, and later on we saw her, she was sweeping. So anyway, Brandon came in there and laid on the bed. And so Shay was like, oh, let me step out, let y'all talk. And so because when he came in, Sienna was like, oh, I hope I'm not too, you want to be in here with me? I hope I'm not too boring for you. Ugh, being all passive aggressive. And so then he was like, what? And so then Shay was like, I'm gonna leave. And then they're like, no, you ain't gotta leave. She's like, no, I'm gonna go put these towels away. By the time I come back, 15 minutes, y'all be good. So then Sienna was like, oh, I didn't like how you try to embarrass me. She gonna break the fourth wall. Talking about, I don't like how you try to embarrass me on national TV, calling me boring and stuff like that. And then he was like, I was talking about the position was boring. I wasn't calling you boring. And so then somehow she brings up the conversation that he had with Millie, right? Now remember this. She brings up the conversation like, oh, so who did you talk to in the house about us? And he's like, oh yeah, I did talk to Millie, whatever. She's like, okay, so what did you tell her? And so then he was like, oh well, I feel like that's really personal. So then she was like, what did you say? What did you say? Then we go to commercial break. We come back. You can hear outside the house. So what the F did you say to her? What the F did you say to her? She was like, if you're not gonna tell me what you said, then you could go on. I don't have nothing to defend myself. I don't know what you said. What does that do to me? What does that serve me if you were behind my back talking about me? So he's like, this is why I said we can't communicate. Like, you're not letting me get any words in. So she's just going off. And I don't know where this came from, right? And remember, she had a conversation with Greg about them. So I was like, I'm confused as he is, right? So he's like, I really don't get it. I don't understand why you're mad. You're not letting me speak. Like, you keep interrupting. You keep, raising your voice. You're not letting me speak. You're not letting me speak. So then he finally got up, and then I guess his foot was on the bed. She's like, get your mother effing foot on my bed. She's going off. Okay. She is going off. I mean, she was really going off. So then Brandon finally, like, Dave was going back and forth. He wasn't like engaging and he never raises his voice or elevates with her. He's just like trying to speak and trying to get a word in, and she's just like going off. She's like, you can go on, you can go on, you can get the hell out of my room, blah, blah, blah. So then he comes out the room and Chris is there and he's talking to Chris, and Chris is like, dang, what happened now? So then he's trying to tell Chris, he could tell the story because he's like, I'm sorry, I'm still shaking up from it. But she was going off on me and asking me what was said and all this stuff. So on another scene, we see Millie and Greg talking about what Millie told Brandon, and what they talked about wasn't anything bad as what we saw, right? He was just saying like, she goes 0 to 100, and Millie was saying she understands how Sienna is because she's from New Jersey, and he has to get kind of past that hard shell, and so people been telling them they need a restart and all that stuff. And so Greg said in his confessional that he knows they've been having, good sexual talk online and all that. He's like, I bet you he took her to the boom boom room. He was like, shoot, that's straight now, A right out, okay? He buy him 72 hours of quietness. I said, you not right for that, Greg, but you're right. So anyway, so Brandon is trying to explain to Chris what happened, and he's also telling him about, I'm sorry, when Sienna called him the B word, and he's like, oh, nah, man, we got to dead that. You cannot be doing this. Like, no, man, no. So then Brandon is like, I already know. Like, I'm sitting here like boo-boo the food. Like, I'm not going to keep trying to give it a chance. So then Shay came back out there, and Brandon was like, I'm glad you were able to hear some of that. And so Shay was like, what happened? And so Shay, a couple times in the confessional, defended her girl Sienna, talking about, oh, I didn't like how Brandon called her boring, whatever. And I don't see a problem with what she did. Like, Brandon has a tendency to hold on to things and not let things go. She just called that man a B word. No, that's disrespectful. So no, you don't need to let it go. It hasn't barely been a day. Like, what are you talking about? So I was like, Shay, girl, bye. So anyway, then Shay and Josh. So Chris grabs Josh, like, he's like, okay, what do y'all think of the situation Brandon and Sienna? So Josh is just like, I think y'all need to like restart. I can tell she gets really escalated and all this stuff. And so they were talking about it. Next thing you know, and Shay was still kind of trying to defend Sienna, but anyway, next thing you know, Sienna come through there with her bonnet on, picks up. I just happen to have some flowers for my birthday. Take the roses he gave her and threw them on the floor by his feet, y'all. He threw them roses on the floor by his feet. Okay. And so everybody was like, wow. So then Shay finally was like, yeah, that was crazy. That was too much. I'm like, yeah, girl, your girl's doing too much. She's doing too much. She's doing too much. So then Brandon, he didn't never pick up the flowers. So Chris left the scene. Josh and Shay are talking to him, and he's like, man, I cannot do this anymore. So Brandon basically he's done. He's over it. He's done. And at some point, Sienna and Shay were talking, and Shay was like, well, what did he tell? Like, why? What did he tell Millie? And she was like, he said he couldn't say it. And so this was before I think she threw the flowers. And so then Sienna's like, see, it must have been something nasty. It must have been something nasty. If you can't say it, it must have been something nasty, right? I'm just like, girl, Sienna, you are exhausting. And you are toxic. And I feel like Shay was pumping her up and her friend was pumping her up. And you really was sitting on that boring thing for that long. Like, I get it. He shouldn't have said it. It was wrong. Let me know if y'all feel like Brandon should have said whatever he said to Millie. Because part of me is like, girl, wasn't that deep because you were also having a conversation with Greg and everybody's been talking to y'all about y'all relationship. I also feel like it would have been easy because Brandon, instead of answering the question, he like asked her another question and he kind of diverted from what question she asked him. And then the second time she asked him, he said it was private. So I didn't like the way he handled that because he didn't like give any kind of straight answers. I wish he would have first answer would have been like, oh, well, I really want to keep that private. I know you spoke to other people about us as well. Or I would have wished he would have just said what it was because it wasn't nothing inflammatory. He wasn't talking about her. I wish he would have said, well, I just talked to her about how we have an issue communicating or whatever the hell they said. Like, I kind of wish he would have deaded it. And at some point at the table when they were eating dinner and playing that game, Greg said he feels like Sienna wants somebody with more of a backbone than Brandon. And I don't know. I don't know if he's necessarily missing a backbone, but to me, he does kind of make sure he stays victim in the situation instead of taking control. Like, that's good. He doesn't escalate. That's good. He's not raising his voice at her. They were saying that, Sienna's used to them rough guys and maybe that's what she wants. He don't need to be all of that, but he definitely needs to take a little bit more charge in the situation and not let her constantly overtalk. But y'all let me know what y'all think about the episode in the comments. This episode was pretty good. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. I will probably talk to y'all about Love Marriage Huntsville tonight. If not, it will definitely be tomorrow. And I'll talk to y'all again soon. Bye.